Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. I got a couple big Glocks today. I've got a 21 Gen 4, this is not an MOS, and I've got a 41 Gen 4, and it is an MOS, and these are both chambered in 45 ACP. Please don't forget to check out our website. Go to our affiliates page. You'll find discount codes for things like Mantis X and Core belts. Link to that cool little bore light that we use for lighting up the barrels. Use those links, it will often save you money, never will cost you any additional money, and helps the channel. And please consider supporting the channel on Player, formerly Utreon, where we can do some types of videos that are no longer allowed on YouTube. The 41 is the newer of the Glock's generations, other than the fact that they did just come out with, within the past few weeks, a Gen 5 version of the 21. But the 21's been around for a very long time in Gen 4. The 41 is only currently available in Gen 4. The 41 is available in MOS or non-MOS. The 21 over here, the Gen 4, is only available non-MOS, and the Gen 5 is only MOS. So you can see Glock seems to be gradually adjusting their line towards just being MOS, at least for the full-size ones. So the little super slim ones aren't. But over time, it just seems like they're just going in the direction of supporting MOS, and possibly even eliminating the non-MOS variants of things, because like, for example, the 41's available in both. The Gen 5 21 is not. It's just MOS and that's that, and if you don't want to put an optic on it, you just don't. Both of these are unloaded, of course. We don't want that big old 45 going off while we're trying to do a video. And both of them use the same magazines. They use the 13 round Glock magazines. And 13 rounds is the only factory-supported capacity for these. The magazines that Glock has available is 13 rounds. Smaller mags won't fit, of course, because the grip is too tall. There are some third-party mags out there that can support 25 rounds. But, you know how it goes with third-party magazines. Some of them work, some of them don't. This particular one has worked reliably, but there's no guarantee once you go to these third-party mags. Some of them are better than others. But things like the Chris Vector and stuff like that that use Glock mags kind of do create an opportunity for some third-party higher capacity mags. So there's not a huge difference really between these other than the length. The length is really the biggest difference. So the Glock 21, which is the one here at the back, is 8.07 inches front to back and 8.78 for the 41. So the 41 is the largest 45 ACP Glock available. And interestingly enough, it's lighter than the 21, and that really surprised me. So the 41 weighs 26.63 ounces with an empty mag, and the 21 weighs 29.28 ounces. So it's like not just almost 3 ounces heavier for the Glock 21, and you can actually feel it when you pick them up. The 41 actually feels lighter. So I'm suspecting that it's the slide. They've done something with the slide to lighten the slide. But the thickness is the same. It's 1.34. So the 1.34 is the overall width for both of these is the same. But if I turn them, you'll see that the slide is actually significantly thinner on the 41. So that's where most of the weight came from, is making the slide thinner. And then there may be some lightening cuts up underneath it inside. But overall, that actually resulted in a larger gun, same capacity of course, but a lighter gun. In case you lost track of it, this is the 21 and this is the 41. The only other difference between them is grip height, and it's so different, it's so close that it's almost insignificant. The 21 has a 5.51 inch top to bottom and 5.47 inch top to bottom on the 41. So it's 5/100ths of an inch. You're really not going to notice that. In fact, if I put them side by side, it's almost impossible to see it. That's such a small difference. So the difference in grip height isn't going to make a difference whether you can carry this or not. The difference in length may, because it may bottom out before you do, depending on when you're sitting down on stuff. But compared to a 1911, which of course 45 ACP is a popular 1911 cartridge, what you'll find is that the 21, when you go beaver tail to nose, so I'm lining them up here with the beaver tail, you'll see that a 1911, a standard full-size 1911, is bigger than the 21. And if I do the same beaver tail to nose on a 41, they're almost identical. So basically what Glock has got in the 41 is a 1911 size Glock. Now it's still a Glock, but it's a 1911 size Glock, and the grips are about the same height when you line them up on the sight. So if I line them up grip to grip, the grips are about the same height on both of them. So if you can carry a 1911 and you're wanting to move into a striker fired, you can carry this. The advantages may be minimal. You get a little bit longer sight radius. Of course, it's a bigger gun. If you're used to a 1911, it's going to have some of the same weight dynamics, even though, of course, being polymer, it's going to be lighter. But functionally, these have both been reliable. They both work well. Having the MOS option on the 41, and of course now on the 21 Gen 5. In fact, I would almost have said, prior to the Gen 5 21 coming out, being optics ready, that would be the big thing that would push you over to the 41, is you can get an optic, which you couldn't previously on the Gen 4 21. Shooting them, they're very, very similar. I didn't notice really a difference in recoil or ability to stay on target. They both felt about the same, despite having a lighter slide on the 41. The dynamic of that at the range kind of just disappeared. The triggers are almost identical on both of them. So you have a little bit of take up, and you're on the wall. The Gen 4 has a very sharp, crisp wall, and then a very crisp break. There's your reset. Nice, reasonably short reset. A little bit of take up, and then again that nice crisp break. And you're going to see, because this is a Gen 4 and the 41 is a Gen 4, you're probably going to see the exact same thing. Take up, a little bit of break, pull through the wall, nice crisp wall, and a break. Same basic reset. Again, a little bit of wall to pull through, and then a nice crisp break. About a 5.5 pound trigger. So the triggers are identical. So if you've got a 21 and you're used to it and you decide to go to a 41, you're not going to really see a difference. Now when you go to the Gen 5s, they have less of a sharp wall and more of a longer, softer wall. And that's just a difference in behavior. Both of them have your typical Glock U-dot sights. The 41 is an adjustable rear sight. So you can adjust at height and windage and elevation. But the sights are all replaceable on both guns. And of course, if you put an optic on either one of them, if you're getting a Gen 5 21, you put an optic on it, the rear sight becomes less important at that point. Overall, they're nice guns. They're fun to shoot at the range. 45 is, kind of low capacity and a little bit heavier for carry for my personal preferences. But to shoot 45, it's really just a pleasant caliber to shoot. You really can't beat 45 for a range day. As far as the rest of the characteristics, they have the same safeties. So they have the inertial toggle on the trigger, the internal drop safety. They both have the standard one-slot Glock rail. One thing you'll notice is on the longer guns, there's the slide actually has this overhang in it, and that hole is when you take the slide off to be able to access the screw that holds the front sight on. That's the purpose of that hole. The frames are really pretty much the same length. And one thing I forgot to mention is the barrels are both polygonal rifling on the Gen 4s. The Gen 5 has that marksman barrel, which is kind of a hybrid between polygonal and conventional. The barrel length on the 21 is 4.61, and on the 41 it's 5.31, so it's got a longer barrel on the 41. From a pricing perspective, Glock doesn't publish an MSRP, they do enforce MAP. So when you see an advertised price, that's generally the minimum that anybody's allowed to advertise. So what I'm seeing for market pricing on these is around $650 for the 21 back here, and that's probably going to drop now that the Gen 5 is available. And between $650 and $750 for the 41, depending on whether you get the MOS version or not. So overall, you're looking at probably between $600 and $700 is what you're likely to see these in a store where you can actually buy them, or online where you can actually buy them. So their price is creeping up. I remember when I first started buying the Gen 4s, they were $550 and you could get them for less. So the price is kind of slowly creeping its way up over time, just like everything else. And of course, like all Glocks, these are striker fired. And also, because they're Gen 4s, the magazine catches are reversible, and there are no ambi features on the Gen 4s, but you can get the ambi slide stop slide release on the Gen 5s. And because they're Gen 4s, they do have the replaceable back straps. Overall, which one would I pick? Because I would use these for a fun day gun, I would pick the bigger one, just because it's a great big 45 caliber Glock 1911 size thing. If I were going to carry it, I might actually tend towards the 21 simply because it's a little bit shorter and it's less likely to bottom out on something I'm sitting down on when I've got it holstered before I do. But, you know, a lot of it comes down to what you're going to use it for. For me, it's a fun day, you know, a pleasure to shoot day, and I would go for the big one just because. Beyond that, if you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, check us out on Instagram, Twitter, Rumble. We're also on Player, formerly known as Utreon. Please consider supporting the channel there, where we can do some videos that are no longer allowed on YouTube. And of course, we're on Getter as well.